All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about something that is absolutely critical if you're building with LLMs, but honestly, it gets overlooked way too often. And that's managing your prompts with the same serious discipline we use for our code.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever had an AI app that's working perfectly, just singing, and then you make one tiny, innocent looking change and the whole thing just breaks? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. It feels super fragile, but there is a way to fix it.
And this slide? This is the perfect example. On the left, a super simple prompt, and boom, you get a great summary. On the right, we add just one word, briefly, and suddenly the model is talking about Roman history. It's gone completely off the rails. This is exactly what happens when we treat prompts like suggestions instead of what they really are, a core piece of our application's logic.
Which brings us to the main idea here. We have got to start treating our prompts like code. Seriously, this isn't just a nice to have. It is a fundamental shift in how we need to think if we're going to build AI systems that are reliable, professional, and don't just fall over.
You know, in traditional machine learning, we're so careful. We version our code, our models, our data. We would never just randomly push changes without tracking them. So here's the kicker. In an LLM system, the prompt is the main way you control the model. It's the interface. It controls the behavior. So why wouldn't we give it that exact same level of respect?
And the moment you start doing this, the benefits are just huge. All of a sudden, you've got reproducibility so you can actually figure out why something worked yesterday but not today. You can run real A/B tests to see which prompt is better. And when things go wrong, and they will, you can immediately find the exact change that broke everything. It makes teamwork possible and, maybe most importantly, keeps you from accidentally shipping a change that just tanks your whole app in production.
Okay, so that's the why. It's pretty compelling, right? Now let's get into the how. Let's build out a playbook you can actually start using. Now, here's something that trips a lot of people up. Versioning a prompt doesn't just mean tracking a single sentence. It means tracking the whole ecosystem around it. We're talking about the few-shot examples you feed it, the variables you plug in, the specific output format you need, even the metadata. Who wrote it? What's it for? Which LLM is it tuned for? All of that is part of the prompt. And look, getting started can be incredibly simple. You can do this right inside the tools you already use, like Git. A nice, clean folder structure like this one immediately brings order to the chaos. Each task has its own folder with versioned prompt files and that all-important metadata. It's clean, it's simple, and trust me, it is a game changer. But tracking your changes is really only half the story. Versioning tells you what you changed. Testing is what tells you if that change was actually any good. You have to prove that your new prompt is not just different, but better.
A really solid testing strategy has layers, kind of like a safety net. You start with the basics, unit tests, just to make sure the output is in the right format. Then you move up to integration tests to see if it plays nicely with your whole system. Like, say, a RAG pipeline, where it's got to go find information first. Then you can test it against a golden data set of perfect answers. After that, you've got A/B testing with real users. And finally, you absolutely need human evaluation, because a human is the only thing that can tell you if the tone feels right or if the style is on point.
And let's make this real for a second. A unit test doesn't have to be some complex beast. Look at this Python snippet. It's basically just a contract. It's telling the LLM, look, I don't really care what you say, but whatever you send back, it has to have a key called summary, it has to be text, and it can't be empty. A simple check like this can prevent a ton of errors down the line. And we can go way beyond just checking the structure. We can use automated metrics to actually score the quality of the output. Things like Ragus are amazing for checking if your retrieval system is actually giving you facts. A toxicity score is non-negotiable for safety. And of course, keeping an eye on latency and token count is just essential for managing your costs and performance. These give you real numbers to back up your decisions. So when you bring these two things together, that rigorous versioning and this multi-layered testing, you completely change the game. You stop doing messy, random experiments, and you start following a professional, predictable engineering workflow. And this is what that workflow looks like in practice. A prompt has a life cycle. It starts as a draft, an idea. It goes through a ton of experimentation and then a really tough evaluation. Only after it passes all those tests does it get approved to go into production. But the job's not done. You have to keep monitoring it because its performance can drift and degrade over time. And if you're working in a bigger company, this whole approach isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely mandatory. It gives you accountability because you have a clear change history. You get traceability from your metadata files, and you have a full audit trail because every single version is saved. This is how you build AI that's safe, compliant, and trustworthy.
So look, if you take just one thing away today, please let it be this. Prompts are the new source code. They're not just little text files you can throw around. They are fundamental logic in your application, and they demand real engineering discipline.
So the roadmap for building professional-grade AI isn't some big secret. It's about being disciplined. You build systems that are versioned, using tools like Git that you already know. You make them testable with a smart, layered strategy. When you do those two things, they automatically become traceable, and ultimately they become safe. That is the playbook.
And this brings us all the way back to that first question. If your prompts aren't versioned, if they aren't tested, then you're building on a foundation of sand. It's just waiting to shift and collapse the moment something changes. So the question you really got to ask yourself is, what foundation are you building on?